You're listening to I'm Telling You. You're listening to I'm Telling You.
Hey fam, welcome back to another episode of I'm Telling You.
I'm telling you.
It's easy there, Ethel. This is Philly D.
Mr. Gemini.
Cookie Clacker Fact Checker, Miss JD.
Yeah, no, as always, we always ask you to reach out to us and, reach out, give us the conversation, add on to it.
Hit us up at ITY at directionsinmusic.org or separately at
PHILLYD, Philly D at directionsinmusic.org.
or Gemini, GEMINI at directionsinmusic.org.
It's almost like saying ionized.
Ionized.
You are ionized, though. It's great.
I
But yeah, dude, you know what? We haven't been asking for a while, and we should. Go ahead. We love movie quotes. Because, yeah, hey, if you're a first-time listener, here's the deal. Me and this guy have been friends for like 31 years. We have crazy, off-the-wall, amazing, intelligent conversations that is just like riddled with dad jokes, movie quotes, lots of movie quotes, honestly. There's times where we have just
Song
episodes
lyrics.
of that.
I mean, it
Yeah,
kind
dude,
of
all
goes
that.
the whole gambit.
We quote ourselves now at this point. But yeah, dude, you know, we want that paragraph. We want that person to interact with us. Like, continue the conversation, which
Cuss
is great.
us out in movie quotes.
That's what you want. So
That's what I
Gemini at directions, cuss this guy out with movie quotes because that's what he wants. I'm just asking for.
I mean, well placed, right? I mean,
Yeah, look
in
what you did, you little
context.
jerk.
Find some kind of a context.
But that's,
make it
that's
flow.
like that's the battle, I think, right?
It's gotta flow.
Easy there, ad rock.
I'm just saying. Just saying.
But yeah, movie quotes.
Well thought out.
That's the thing about us is we are not thought out, even though we are thought provoking.
We're not thought out.
Well, no, because we don't. So this is what. So
We're still
we,
frozen.
no, not thawed. What's wrong with you? You understand the words coming out of my mouth?
No.
Don't nobody understand the words coming out of your mouth. But yeah, no, this is literally what we do for an hour. So, you know, hey, first time listeners, we appreciate you. Stay tuned because this gets better, I promise. And everybody else, you know what
Or
we're
maybe
doing.
it doesn't. I don't know. It just
We don't know. We don't know. I mean,
it do what it do.
it does. And in fact, more times than not, we really do have some like seriously in-depth conversations. I mean, it's just riddled with humor and levity because we like to keep it light, you know, but
Well, because I mean, we're both in it, and like we'll constantly. I was just thinking about this today. Like, it's not like we're even like trying to do homework for the next recording, but like we'll send each other pertinent videos or information that's things that we have common interest in.
Yeah,
So,
I mean,
like
it's-
some far-fetched, some just intellectual, some, you know what I mean? Like,
well, it's us continuing our own conversations on the side because that's what we do. I mean, we literally do talk on this, all of this.
this never stops. This is just
Yeah, whether the mics were on or
snippets of
not.
recording of the two of us communicating. That's all.
Communicate. Yes, I know about the finger
We're
goose.
communicating.
But that's literally what we do. I mean, we do have these really in-depth conversations because we're thought-provoking. We do have deep thoughts. We do have, you know, what do you call them? The thought experiments. I really like that. That's a good phrase.
Yeah, I haven't brought that up in a while, but like, yeah, thought experiments. Like where you go into a certain scenario and just imagine like, well, what if life was like this and this is what you had to do to survive? Like, and so you could kind of replace yourself in any different situation and just play it out in your mind. It's a thought experiment.
Yeah, I like that idea.
It could be something simple like, you know, gravity is only half as strong
Yeah,
on this planet. Like, and what would happen? Like, what would you do?
most of my stuff would start to float away probably.
You know, to really serious stuff. Like, you know, really, I mean, honestly, for me personally, like really serious stuff. Like, what if I was born in a different generation where even if I didn't believe that racism was okay, it was forced upon me to act a certain way? How would I handle it? Would I be willing to die for something that I believed in? And this, like, and that's what I'm saying. Like, it goes from completely silly to completely serious for me. Like, there's
And that's what I say is like we all, I mean, all three of us, we do have those thoughts. We do have those things that pique our interest that we attempt to educate ourselves in, and then we share that knowledge with one another.
That's the scary thing about topics like that, though, because it's like that Bulletproof Monk, where the girl, what's her name, Jade.
Oh, the daughter,
the other martial artist, like the rich kid's daughter,
yeah,
or
Jade,
the rich kid or whatever.
She was, he was somehow wealthy.
She's at the exhibit for world peace or whatever, and she's looking at all these photos of violence. She says, "How do you justify all these violent images?" And like, she had a moment like this, basically neo-Nazi German chick.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, she was.
Had this moment with her where, she was just like, well, you tell me, which would you rather be? And she looks at this picture, and it's a guy holding like an AK against somebody who's basically on their knees looking at the ground. And it's like, who would you rather be? I'm like, why? That's terrible, but that boils down like that whole, the mentality of that, like, who would you rather be? And I think that's the sad thing about humanity is that, given your choice, I don't think it's always that simple, though.
See, this is where I have
like, are you the victim or are you the perpetrator?
So this is where I have that differentiation between what it is to be a part of humanity and what it is to be a human being. To me, being a human being, you experience what humanity is, but doesn't mean you necessarily embody it. So the idea of humanity to me is being more than just human. Humanity is the ultimate being that's supposed to be a part of all things. Plants, animals, the wind, the water, all of it. The stars, the skies, like all of it. Like that's what true humanity is supposed to be, I think. That's my take on it.
Oh, what was that one? I was just reviewing the Facebooks and stuff. And there was a quote on there somewhere about how we are the earth because we're a conglomerate of everything that we consume. We are part hummingbird, part reptile, part tree, part,
Yeah.
We are the earth, that we don't grow from it. We are made of it.
Yeah. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust, stuff like that, right? I get that.
I love that. I mean, if that's a total tangent, I'm sorry, but
Well, no, because we're all space dust, right? Because that's what technically how this planet became populated or whatever, like depending on what your belief system is.
That's a Neil Tyson thing. I like when he goes off on that.
Yeah, right.
That we're all basically the result of cosmic dust, cosmic asteroids and all kinds of whatever came into this planet is what basically helped fertilize it for life. I mean, like we talked before about how I wonder if it wasn't this fungal network that was here long before us that had the fortitude. I mean, because some of these fungal spores can survive in basically like zero oxygen environments for a very long time and just remain dormant. And who's to say that the first settlers on this land weren't these, way before the dinosaurs. Like you're talking way at the birth, basically when the fires went out.
Yeah, the seeding of the planet in a sense.
Like when the fires finally went out and we started holding water,
right?
Like these were the first things that started growing.
Yeah.
And they basically came from the stars. And that everything that we are, and that was one of the jokes actually that Terrence McKenna used to say all the time, is that he's like, if you believe in aliens, then this is me saying to you that maybe they're already here, that maybe the aliens didn't find such a genius way to send themselves across galaxies by spreading themselves in these tiny spores that would basically teach humanity how to live, how to thrive, how to survive. Not just humanity, but like everything on this planet that has become what it is. Like blue-green algae learning how to form roots because of these fantastic, man. Oh, sorry.
Mycelium.
Mycelium.
That's like one of your favorite words, bro. Mycelium. Yeah.
No, it's just it's a fascinating avenue to look down. Like when you imagine that, like, not only the fungal part of it, but the whole Neil deGrasse thing about that. Basically, we are the result of all these cosmic spores and dust and everything else that landed on this planet in this violent upheaval that created basically such a lush environment, needed all that, because as it was getting bombarded, it was getting, basically elements that it needed to be able to create these building blocks to create, carbon life as we know it on this planet. It's just fascinating stuff to think about, that you are stardust.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And
Oh, yeah.
And the
funny looking guy.
Don't you know?
The logical side of me looking at the evolutionary data, as it were, the ability for that to be the more logical idea, I think the majority of the data that I'm aware of really kind of supports where it's like, yeah, the planet basically was seeded in a sense. Whether it was intentional or not, who knows? We obviously have no freaking clue. The assumptions are there, of course, but that's also thinking in the way that we think, which to me,
that's where you come into question with all kinds of things when you start looking at, fungus is the only, we think about it, we tend to group it with like vegetables, or the vegetation. And it's really quite different than that, because it's the only vegetation, as it were, that breathes oxygen and breathes out CO2 just like we do.
Right.
Which makes it's kind of weird, because what is it? It's kind of both. It's kind of, is it one of those things that is very elusive? It's neither a particle nor a wave.
It's neither a pocket nor a book.
Discuss.
It's magic.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that's the thing to me further is this feeling of connection between everything. For what we're to understand of how, as we're talking this fungal network, the mycelium, the way these things are structured, the way they represent neural connections in our brains, as well as rooting structures of all the plants. I mean, there's so many similarities from what it is, how it works, all these other things.
And we're not just talking about things that you know of as mushrooms.
Yeah, right.
That's the thing that's confusing. Like when you realize that it's some ungodly percentage of this planet is like rife with it, because it's with this fungal network we're talking about, that it's required for other plants and even animals, that there's this commingling during this genetic evolution that created everything as we know it today in the animal and the plant kingdom. It required this symbiotic relationship with this fungal network. And we're just kind of starting to figure that kind of stuff out nowadays. And how true that is, that if it wasn't for these fungal networks, and you've learned some of that, I think, through your interest in botany and growing things yourself, that there's a relationship between the fungus, the bacteria, the plant itself, and the oxygen that's required, and how these plants they share nutrients with each other. Like there's this weird relationship where fungus will actually communicate across miles, basically, but can basically have this open exchange with, like, say, an oak tree to provide nitrogen for it and receive something else in return. Like there's this symbiotic relationship, and if it wasn't for that relationship from the very beginning, who's to say that oak tree ever would have had the power to evolve, basically.
Yeah. And that's why I'm like, on the logical level, I really feel that whole connection of all things being together. To me, it really lends its hand to that ideation. You know, it's why I think all of us at our core, if we were truly calm enough and still enough long enough to truly listen to ourselves and the energies around us, we would hear that connection. We would feel that connection. We would want to be even further connected to it. You know, there's something I think very primal in our coding that draws us in that fashion to be very earth conscious and loving.
And speaking of Terrence McKenna, well, I mean, he was very much a firm believer that it's probably these experiences that are brought on by I can't remember the normal name of like what you consider magic mushrooms.
Do you know more of those names than I do?
Stropharia cubensis or something like that. That these plants or whatever you want to call them, these fungus, are trying to tell us something about ourselves. Like it's an intelligence of its own, was the way he kind of thought of it, you know, which I find really fascinating because it kind of furthers that whole theory that he would throw around, kind of jokingly, like half jokingly, that these are an alien species. If we're looking for aliens, they've been here the whole time. They've been helping us grow. You know, I mean, when you think about it, most of your body isn't even you. Most of it's bacteria and fungus, and it all works symbiotically to create a human being, but it's not all, you know, quote unquote human tissue. You know, that it's intermingled because it's through a cooperation, through a balance of sorts.
I mean, aren't we just a bunch of molecules vibrating together to give a solidified mass?
Yes.
That is what we perceive as far as our brains see.
Well, we are light slowed down.
Dude, that's why I'm like, dude, how are we not in a video game right now?
We are light slowed down.
What the hell?
However you want to think of it. I mean, that's just like we were saying
some
before.
Tron shit, Grand Theft Auto style.
It doesn't mean like a god up there is sticking a game into a console and playing us.
Well, right.
But it's a way to think of it. But I mean, I get it. But yeah, we're all seriously slowed down particles of light. Because if you think about it, there's nothing else in existence.
Sorry, I got the flashback to when we were talking about adrenaline. When I got like all hopped up on it, I'd be like, I am slow motion. Sorry, but yeah, dude, that's exactly it, man. Like that's why I said logically the evolution, seeing all the ways in which all the things. That's why I was like the mycelium, you know, the fungal network. It represents, you know, branches. It represents, you know, roots.
Neural network.
Yeah, dude, it represents our brain as well as like you were talking about the oxygen and CO2 setup.
The apparent chaotic spread of lightning as it passes through the air, as it's looking for a ground. Like all those things, like how they all have a very similar appearance.
Yeah.
I mean, I always think that's fascinating that as scientists, what we do is we break things apart and we give them different names. But like, who's to say any of it's separate from any other thing? That it's all just, you know, it's turtles all the way down. It's this. Well, I mean, it's who's to say that lightning on a grand scale isn't the same thing as static electricity? Isn't the same thing as,
well, Brian?
You know, it's an electromagnetic discharge of some sort.
Yeah.
Versus slower spinning light wave, which is basically what we are.
I mean, dude,
but they're all the same thing. They all come from the power, the energy of the light wave,
which is the sun, I guess, right?
Light wave particle.
Yeah. So I mean, like, isn't that why the Mayans or the Aztecs worship the sun? I think because it's the almighty everything.
Well, it's always played a major role. It's always been, even in Egyptian folklore, it's been representative of the highest god because, I mean, think about it. Nothing would exist without sunlight. On this planet, even if you just think of it that way, if it wasn't for our star that's close enough to us to give us, to give us its energy, like we wouldn't have plant life. We wouldn't have enough heat to heat the crust of the earth enough that we'd be able to comfortably live on it. Like carbon life would not be able to exist the way it does if it wasn't for the sun. Would it really thrive or grow anything at all if it wasn't for this? You know what I'm saying? Like it would be too cold.
She's just too old. She's too cold. You can't have her stuff. It's too cold.
It would just be too cold. And if you know anything about the difference between cold and heat, things move very rapidly in a heated state.
Excited.
Things are excited, right? Things tend to move faster. The more you chill something, the more cold something is, the slower it's moving. I mean, on a molecular level. So, yeah. So you start removing the sun, and their activity goes down to almost nothing, because nothing can live without some kind of a light source. And you realize how even just in our normal scientific perception of what it is the sun does for us. But aside from the fact that I'm saying that you are a result of particles of light from the sun vibrating at a slower rate until they form masses.
Yeah, man.
Animals, plants, the earth, like we're all the same thing.
Double rainbow.
Absolutely. This is what happens when we drink.
But this is also what I'm talking about. This is why I'm like, it seems so...
I love lamp.
I do love lamp.
Love table.
It makes me so bright and shiny.
I mean, do we make sense? Are we making sense? You're all quiet over there, so...
Yeah, I'm just making sure that you guys don't hear background noise.
I mean, that's the what do you call it? The Walter Russell of it all. Like, I mean, that's the way he viewed reality, is that there's two major forces in the cosmos. There's the force of radiation, and there's the force of gravity, basically, the force of a drawing in. And when those two forces come in contact with each other, they create a friction, which basically it spins light into form.
Yeah, that makes sense.
If there's any other way, I don't even know how to describe that. It basically spins light into matter.
Well, yeah, because I mean, think about it. The supposed UFO, UAPs, or whatever. The general premise on how they would be able to work, as far as combustionless,
the speed that they travel and the changing directions, and
to have combustionless thrust, as well as to fly in the manner that they do, there would have to be some form of what they call anti-gravity, or really what it is time dispersion.
That's your favorite scientist was talking about, that basically...
The Bob Lazar. He's one of them. There's quite a few that actually have come forward.
When you create a field like that, you can move it in any direction you want. And it's basically like you're falling up, or you're falling sideways, or you're falling,
Right, but as you're doing that, you're distorting time around you, which causes light and things of that nature to modify or bend, or so as we perceive them, changes to that sense.
All revolves around the use of that. What particle it was? The element.
I think 113. I think it's element 113.
Is it 113?
Maybe, or 115.
I thought it was. Oh, okay. I thought it was a higher number than that, but okay.
No. Yeah, if you what's Bob Lazar element? You can literally just go like Bob Lazar element, and it'll probably finish it for you. Yeah, I think it's like 113.
It was the element that was found
115.
within the basically the power plant in the spaceship that they found.
115.
115.
There you go. That's why I knew it was
somewhere up there.
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, he had a supposed small quantity of element 115, which we had at that point in time, he was unaware of any means to construct this
quote unquote small amount that was contained within this power plant, basically.
Well, that's what he was saying. Yeah, it was like the ship's core.
We say small amount, but we were even after that unable to reproduce.
He was given basically like a pebble size worth, like a small amount. Which, as you were just about to say,
we can't even stabilize at like one molecule.
Exactly. Although we've had one that I think that stayed together for like 2 minutes before it reached half-life.
But that's a single molecule. You're talking about something like the size of like maybe a pencil eraser.
No, they made like an ounce of it or something, or 2 ounces of it. But it only lasted for very short, like literally like seconds or a minute or something.
Something like that. I mean, what's an ounce of something? I mean, it's like, how much does dark matter weigh?
Well, but so here's the deal, though. Well, think about this.
How much does a hen weigh?
If this element 115 is emitting a field that distorts gravity, as they want to say, it doesn't matter how heavy it is.
How do you weigh it? How do you weigh something that defies the laws of physics?
Well, it defies our laws of physics.
Well, maybe we got it all wrong.
Well, that's what that's what
I wonder too.
That's pretty much what Bob Lazar was saying. He's like, you're
viewing things through such a narrow bandwidth. And that's the thing I always like to say about humanity. It's like, I mean, we're very cunning, but we're not necessarily very smart. And we view things through a very narrow bandwidth. When you think about it, I mean,
that goes back to what I was saying, the difference of humanity and a human.
We're able to see things by creating technology that enables us to see X-rays, to see radio waves, to see, you know what I mean? Right. But these aren't things that we can normally tune into. It doesn't mean they don't exist. It just means we have this narrow bandwidth that doesn't pick up on that.
Correct. I agree.
And it's very narrow when you look at it amongst the great scheme of things. Like, we can't see, and honestly, it would be very distracting. There'd be no need to be able to see like the entire color spectrum within the sun's rays. Like, there'd be no need to see that as human beings because it wouldn't help us survive or live longer. But it's there. It's just not necessarily perceivable by us.
Right. I mean, what do they say? Our eyes ingest it while our eyes are constantly ingesting, our brain only perceives 60%. So it's like it cycles on 60. That's what
That's an interesting thing, though, because it's just some of this is in how the brain not only perceives but stores data, and that's where you really get into this interesting territory, because basically the brain is going to start to filter out things that are repetitious or unnecessary. It does that on the one end. And on the other end, anybody who's been afraid of the dark knows that the brain is very good at filling in information that's not there.
Oh yeah.
So it's that age-old question: is an eyewitness really the best proof or evidence?
Mm-hmm.
Because what is it to say like that what you see isn't real for you and completely? I mean, you can tell me down to the last scale on the dragon's back, but I can't see it.
Did you see the episode of Magic for Humans where he was the thief and the cop at the same time? And nobody realized he was, like, they're giving the report of what the thief looks like.
Was that where he was wearing shorts?
Yeah.
He was wearing a cop's uniform, but he was wearing shorts.
Yeah.
He showed up on a bicycle or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I saw that one.
I don't think I'll have to see this.
Well, it's basically to show how people don't pay attention.
Oh, yeah.
He stole their stuff, and they were like, "Oh, what does it look like?" And then, like, all of their visuals weren't really accurate, and they're staring at him, and he's like, "Oh yeah, okay." They're describing him.
Yeah. No.
Well, it's funny when you start toying with the power of suggestion too, because that does some really interesting things to the brain. Because sometimes, like I was saying, your brain will just fill in information because it has to have something. And unfortunately, it doesn't pull that information from anything known, so it doesn't pull it from the left brain. It pulls it from the right brain, which is the creative side, which is going to create the most wild, far-fetched, unbelievable thing, because that's the area of your dreams, basically. That's the area of your nightmares. That's the creative side of you that you have no control, that just goes on all by itself. That's what all that happens in the right brain. So when you don't have that information to fill in, your brain fills it in with just the power of your imagination. So in a way, your imagination is killing you. Well, the more imaginative you are, the more fantastic your nightmares can be. I mean, anybody who's ever struggled with nightmares, that's true. The more creative you are, it's not helpful. It certainly makes for good books, which is one of the reasons why I think Stephen King has always been such a good and amazingly prolific writer, is that he's been able to tap into that ether involving his dreams and be able to translate that into written word.
Right. Yeah, I feel like for me myself, the more I've been meditating, and for years now at this point, because what you said, I absolutely agree. That's very much, because I myself was definitely the same, but the more I've meditated and really not only asked but honestly answered those darker questions, faced my fears, as they would call it, I guess. You call it the thought experiments, but the more I went through any and all that kind of stuff, and just like worked through past trauma and just cleared myself out, keep myself calm, collected, the more times than not, when I do recall little tidbits of my dreams, it's usually stuff I've already been thinking about, and it's usually like me golfing super awesome, or doing something with the shows or whatever, or it usually has something that I've already been focused on. But because I keep myself focused narrowly for myself, but while still moving forward towards something that I want to be a part of, my accountability to community and make this world a better place kind of stuff. But
it's like that's where your fears will come true. Like, you're pursuing something in your dream, which is the same thing you're pursuing in reality. Success in the particular area that you're interested in. So if it's sales right now, whatever it is.
Dude, it's usually me golfing, whatever and else. I'm like doing super awesome.
So it'll start with that, and then it'll start going into your apprehension about the unknown.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't. No, like, this is where I'm at.
You haven't had that in a while then.
Since I've been, again, that's why I was like,
So it's just like a continuing daydream for you?
Kind of, yeah.
That's pretty cool, actually.
Well, so it's almost, and this is the only thing I can really equate it to, is it feels what I think would be lucid dreaming, where it's not so much.
You're not even allowing yourself to feel the negative emotions surrounding.
I'm attempting to input.
It's just the love of the experience itself, and like you just daydream about it taking off one day.
All things, yeah. I stay focused on taking care of me and my family, being good, healthy.
Can't hate that, man. I mean, that's.
Well, but it's not to say that I don't occasionally, here or there. So not to say I never, but the majority of all things at this, because I've been at this for over 10 years now. I've been on this serious journey of really, again, just having to ask those difficult questions, but also honestly answering those questions. I think they're about, thanks. He just topped me off with we're sharing beers. We have some really nice beers tonight. We're sharing them and stuff. And he just gave me a little extra because he loves me.
Tangerine.
Yeah. But that's, I really want to, the whole, Maslow's hierarchy, getting to the very top is your it's your actualization. It's self-actualization. It's you. Law of attraction.
Where you actually belong in the first place. That's where you're drawn to, which means that's where you are coming from.
that it's the point of
it's a mindset thing. It's a
right. It's at a place where you're no longer. It's kind of you just get out of your own way. You've already set the pace, the image, the idea, the whole thing, and and it just comes to fruition. Yeah, that's pretty much that's what I'm on, and that's what I focus for. And do I meditate? I visualize. I affirm. I took the stuff from the answer, and
you're always trying to get me to do that. You're like, dude, you program your reality.
Well, RAC, Reticulum Activation Center. That's what the book The Answer is about. It's taking the idea of the secret or the law of attraction and then literally reprogramming your brain so that
some of that stuff I'm really intrigued by. Like some of it's like even simple day-to-day stuff. If you want to get yourself more attentive to like the now, like the world around you as it is right now, instead of filtering it through something else, is basically take yourself. Well, one way of saying is take yourself out of your comfort zone.
Oh yeah.
But even something as simple as driving a different path on the way to work one morning, something that reprograms your brain so that you actually have to problem solve in a different way. You know what I mean? Whatever it is, just something to get yourself out of the norm. Like if you normally stop at 7-Eleven, stop at Wawa. If you anything you could change. And that's just, just one aspect of it. I'm just saying, but
So the way that the answer, the book, which is the follow up to The Secret, they tell you to meditate, visualize, and then affirm. So you calm your brain, tell it what it wants by showing it pictures, because that's how it inputs data.
Sure.
And the more vivid you can make it, the quicker you can. And then you say things about it that basically supports that new idea. And so, as you were just saying, it's kind of the same thing. You get yourself into a position where you may not be meditating to have to clear your mind out. If you're constantly focused on that thing, that's why I always say to you, it doesn't really matter what that thing is. If you believe that's the thing that's going to do it, you got to do it, especially if you're not hurting yourself or those around you.
And you've used that before, kind of an analogy to faith, that it really doesn't matter. Like, I mean, you could replace that word with anything, but it really doesn't matter what God you believe in.
Yeah, or you could be Eric Von Daniken and think they're aliens.
But if you believe in something, that's the power that keeps you going. That's the power that animates you. And who's to say it's any different from anybody else's, because it's all about this perception we have that we decide something is a certain way. You know what I mean? I always wonder about that myself. I mean, that aren't we all just trying to explain the same thing?
Pretty much, dude.
But we're just so stuck on like how we express it.
Yours says dude. Yours says sweet. Yeah, they're still the same tattoo pretty much. So,
but I mean, think about it. Every culture creates a divine hero of some sort. But the divine hero always looks like them.
Right.
So that should tell you something. It's like, well, it's not to say that there's one, but there's one. You know what I'm saying? So however you see it, however you choose to experience it, that's just the way that you experience it. But to me, it's all the same. It's the creator is the creator. The whatever power keeps atoms spinning is the power that keeps out. I don't care what name you give it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it doesn't care what name you give it either.
Right. I don't think that's really important at all. I think that's like a side issue. You know,
that's not like
it's like how do you refer to it? Okay, well that's important, but
that's why there needs
to be a commonality somewhere. But I mean, that's the way I've always felt, even from a child. That was my perspective. That there is no difference. That's our ego talking. You know what I mean?
I would agree with that. You know, I mean, and that was always one of my things.
It's like Black Santa. Like, well, Santa technically, I think he was originally like Jewish or Austrian or something. So
darker really skin.
But I'm not really sure that, it's
that
necessarily
does that matter?
Apt, like, does it really matter?
Yeah, right.
But my point is that we see our heroes as mirror images of ourselves because that's just human nature. But it goes beyond that. It goes so well beyond that there's no way to express it. Like, we have to use this imagery to try and express something that's basically ineffable, right? That's my favorite.
Mycelium and ineffable. Yeah, I'm aware.
Ineffable mycelium.
I'm ineffable. Yeah, no, and that's you said it yourself. I definitely think this is a part of, and this is why I say there's a difference between being human and being a part of humanity. To me, humanity is more of, the fungal network and everything connected. It's all in one. It's what the human being's supposed to be as a complete, the self-actualizing.
But everybody is that, but everybody doesn't necessarily share realization of that. I mean,
correct.
I think that's the true distinction. Like, are there more people out there that, whether they've actually had that experience, or more maybe like people like me that understand that experience is out there and that I already am that, maybe even if I don't perceive it that way yet.
And that's why I'm like, to me, it's very much a part about being the human, because to me, the human aspect is the dichotomy of humanity, which is knowing right and wrong and then perceiving that you have to choose between, as opposed to what I think is being a part of humanity and realizing that the only correct action is one that makes sense for all things, which means that you're pretty much just a part of the entire network. And it's not so much like you're being told what to do. It's more about, this is where I'm at and this is what it has to be. It's knowing your purpose and fulfilling it, which in doing that, like, you can still live your dreams and be what you're supposed to be and all that kind of stuff.
Well, I mean, how long did it take you to come to the realization? It may have been sooner than it did for me, I'm sure, but to come to the realization that something as simple as hating another person is actually hurting you more than that other person.
Ooh, that's a good question.
How long did it take you to come to that realization where, and that's kind of that, to me, that kind of goes along with that same train of thought, is that you are a conglomerate of everything. There's no me and you. Like, for us to survive, we have to survive somewhat together. You know what I mean? Like,
so
we have to learn to trust each other.
Yeah, I want to say 10, almost 11 years ago. I think this is probably more of the thing that really kind of triggered myself, because
and you can't control that's the weird thing. It's like, you can't control what other people do. And that's the thing you got to get over. Like, right? You can't control what other people do, but I can control what I do.
And that's very much the place that I was at. And it was dealing with, personal family stuff and relationships and the way things were. But I was finally at that place where I'm just like, this is how I want to live my life. And I'm going to preserve that, which means for me to interact with these other people in certain ways, it has to be this way. And honestly, it freaks a lot of people out, because I was, for the first time, honest, was willing to stand up for who I am and what I believe in, act the way I feel was appropriate, which, I mean, if you ask 99% of the people that meet me, they think, I'm a very pleasant individual, but there's always going to be that small percentage, regardless of family or friends or, media or strangers or whatever. But, nobody's always going to like you. It's just not going to happen. Yeah, some people just do not like me, and I
would never even set that as a goal for myself, because that's just kind of like a recipe for failure, I think.
Well, and that's why I've gotten to.
You can't. But you can't let that rule you. I think as long as you're being yourself and you're obviously not trying to rob or break anyone else's leg, I don't think that's a problem.
Well, that's what I always say, dude, is if you're not hurting
the world doesn't affect me.
Well, yeah, if you're not hurting yourself or anyone else around you,
right.
How's that a bad thing? Like, I don't care what it is that we're talking about. If you're not hurting yourself or someone else, This is obviously a good thing then.
Well, what define hurt? And that's where you get into all these other things. It's like, well,
that depends on what your definition of is.
Yeah, like you said something to somebody that hurt their feelings and, gave them indigestion for a week because they were upset. Like you technically hurt them. It's like, well,
no. They allowed themselves
to be hurt through whatever inaction or action that I had.
Yeah, I mean, and mind you,
that sounded a lot like.
I can neither confuse. Yeah, no, and I'm very much the type where it's like, if what I did or said, and I mean, you hear me whenever I say stuff, I always, for the most part, I will almost always preface with an apology, and it's like, hey, I do not intend to offend anyone, or however,
I can't help it if I have an opinion that.
Yeah, and
I may not be seeing every angle of it. I'm just saying right now, that's my opinion.
Correct.
Like the whole Mustang thing I went off on earlier. Was that green room? Sorry, but anyway.
What happened? I blacked out. Yeah, no, so going back to your question though on all that was, me like almost 11 years ago, that really was what got me to be. I need a change. My body wants it. My body needs it. My mind needs it. My spirit needs it. I needed a change in my life. I had my daughter who was, I was attempting to set the path for her to make it as easy as possible. And it doesn't just mean, in a financial sense. I'm not trying to provide just, here's money for you. I was really trying to give her a honest go at being a human in this idea of humanity and be the best her she can be as whatever she wants to be, knowing that she is loved and accepted and appreciated. And I don't think I pat myself enough on the back because I honestly don't think I pat myself enough on the back about being a good dad. But dude, my kid is really dope. So I did an amazing job. And to me, the past 10, almost 11 years going through this journey and having her as my offspring, being that additional, it really, I'm doing good. And not because it's the right thing to do. It's because that's what I want to do. I want to be good and I want to bring good and I want to have peace and love and happiness. And I want all of us to communicate and enjoy each other, ourselves separately and as a community. We really all can get along.
Some people try to make that difficult though, don't they?
Pretty much everybody. It was the same thing with golf. Golf is such an easy game.
And that's what I'm saying
about... We as the individual make it difficult because we think about it.
Removing yourself from the judgment of others in a way when it comes to making choices about how you're going to move forward in your life. Is that really kind of part of it? Is that you have to learn how to say, look, this is what feels right for me and I love you, but this is what I got to do.
And this is why I said that's the dichotomy of being human, because you know what's right, you know what's wrong, and you know what it's like. Dude, no, we as a part of this complete connection, this network, there are, very Vulcan-like, it's what's best for all, not some or one. This is the correct choice to make because it's what's best for all of us. It's not even being told that. It's just knowing that and choosing to do that to be a part of that flow, which means that you can't be good or bad. You just have to be. And that's where I'm like, I think self-actualization is at where you basically just get out of your own way. You become that sim or that avatar, and you're just, you as the spirit or the soul is just like hanging on for the ride. Like, look what we get to do.
I think that's really important. And some people consider that like a selfish behavior to focus on yourself so much, but
in doing so, I have more time for other things and other people.
Well, here, and just in my logical brain, that's the only thing I have control over.
Right.
So why should I get all bent out of shape about how other people are living their lives when all I can really do is control how I live mine? And part of that is making choices that jive with like my personal humanity. Like and I'm just making a generalization. I'm not picking on anybody in particular, but
generalization.
Grandpa's ways of thinking about different ethnic groups may be different than mine because he was raised differently and he lived through a different time period.
The environment has a lot, right? Nature, nurture.
But do I have to let that, the experiences and the emotions that are pushed on me from that angle, from my grandfather, like, do I have to reflect them, or can I just kind of still be me and not let that affect the way that I look at the world? You know what I mean? Because I've never really saw myself as different from any other human being. And I think all kids are kind of born like that, that they don't see differences. Like, the only differences I see are the social differences that we create amongst each other and that we've kind of accepted as a kind of a moral rule between each other. But, it's this weird barrier that we put between us.
See, that's you bring up the kids thing, and the way I look at it is, I feel
because I don't think kids notice it the same.
Well, and that's what
kids notice how we react.
Well, and that's my point was going to be, when a kid looks at something, it's just raw. They see a glass of beer, they see, okay, this is a glass, this is alcohol that's in that glass. We as adults, knowing these other things, we look at it and they're just like, oh, they're drinking alcohol. There's now a judgment on it, not just a representation of a physical thing that it is.
No, but as a kid, I just saw another human being of a different complexion than me. I didn't see them as a different race or a different species or a different whatever. I didn't categorize them as something different than me.
Well, yeah, I mean, I saw people or colors of like things just as like clothing is color of things. Well, it's like, all right, so that's a color.
Things may have been even different for you too, because you were raised in a situation where almost everybody around you was either kind of a yellow or a brown skin, and you were very much pale skin.
I was when we first moved in. This one, dude. No, dude, this is like
this is going way back,
dude. When we first moved in, 4 doors up was actually the local chapter of the KKK's Grand Wizard. Well, because when we first moved into the neighborhood that my parents...
What?
This is for real.
This is not...
This is for real.
Philly D's corner of... Yeah, no, I'm going to... So
this is going back to like really young though.
So this is like, we're moving back from Spain, coming back to the States, and my parents are trying to do right and like move us into a good neighborhood. Because they know we're living in California. There's plenty of areas that are not good neighborhoods, but there's some that are, so they didn't have a lot of money, but they were trying to do right. And so they thought they found an up and coming, being built neighborhood. I think there was only like 4 or 5 more houses left to be finished. And there was only like 30 houses on our block, like 15 aside, something like that. Maybe it was like 32, so like 16. Mm-hmm. So there's like 30-ish houses. Like quarter-acre lots, nothing huge, but it's our block. So we move in thinking it's good neighborhood. Come to find out, within a few weeks of truly settling in, Grand Wizard, local chapter of the KKK, lived 4 houses up from us. Oh yes,
this is a great neighborhood.
Well, but this is how we found out. So our neighbors that move into the house next to us that had been built but not sold, they decide to buy it. They are first generations here in America from Jamaica, like straight off the boat, made the move. They're like, we want to live in America and we're picking this place and have kids and all of that, which they're first. Him and I were just under a year apart.
5 houses from the KKK.
Well, and so they would, from my memory, I remember the event pretty, because it was, they had glued pornography on their minivan in the driveway. And this is supposed to be a good neighborhood we're moving into, right? And that's the thing is, for the most part, all of us who were living in that neighborhood, we were good. It was also supposed to be like very up and coming white collar. It was never up and coming or white collar. None of that ever happened.
More like white hood, or
it was just it went hood. But dude, good hood, man, barrio, man, like your people, dude, mi gente. It's like This is La Raza. This is my
KKK
family.
Angle didn't last.
Oh, so yeah. Once the neighborhood finds out who this individual is that's disrupting the flow, they
took care of it.
Well, the
air quotes, took care of it.
Yeah, the pressure of the neighborhood, because at this point, as the neighborhood was filling out, as all the houses were being, bought up and everything. Yeah, it was Filipino, Black, Mexican. When I say Mexican, I mean from Mexico, Mexican. Not like, I'm not trying to. Yeah, that's not a slur. It's true. It was, and everybody on the block was like super dope except for these people. So yeah, they I think it was within 6 months of our Jamaican neighbors moving in, which by the way, me and him, like he and I, like we still
they're like complete peace loving. They're like, they got to go, man.
What? Dude, and it's not even that. It's just
what a mercy.
Well, it was the fact that all of us as a collective were attempting to move into this neighborhood for the same reasons. We wanted a good place to raise our kids. That's what all of the parents had done. And so the fact that they were disrupting this flow, they had to bounce out. Now, mind you, as that happened over the next few years, it was the first housing crash. Oh yeah, like everybody has 3 mortgages today. No, don't do that. But so the neighborhood changed massively and quickly. So by the time I wound up leaving there, I went from being, I want to say like one of 3 white families to being like I was the white kid in the neighborhood.
That was it.
But at that point, I had respect in my neighborhood, man, because I finally, tribes and tribulations, I learned to stand up for myself. I learned to just be a part of life, be loyal, be loving, be kind, be good to yourself, be honest, be proud enough to just stand up for who you are.
But you don't get there overnight, though.
No. A lot of ass whoopings.
Like
and
somebody
meditation.
does you wrong, you don't just go, praise Jesus, I'm just gonna do this. Like, no, it doesn't. It's like, man, I want to kill that dude. Like, you have to go through enough of that first. I feel like you kind of like glaze over that whole part of your life. Like, this doesn't happen overnight. Like you make bad choices and you realize that those bad choices affect you just as bad, if not worse, than the people that you tried to act them out on.
Yeah, and that's why when you asked me that question, that 11-ish years ago is
there's
when
a lot of levels to that, Well,
so this is all stuff that happened to me from the age of, oh God, we moved in that neighborhood. I was 2.5, almost 3. So yeah, from the age of like 3 of moving into that neighborhood up until about 10 years ago at freaking my early 30s, you're talking like 22 years of being a dumbass, but suffering and making those choices.
I think in a lot of ways you made a lot of really interesting discoveries at the beginning, though, because you were raised amongst such a different culture that you were appreciative of the differences, and that you didn't necessarily see those things.
Yeah, but as always,
when we get really deep into it.
Yeah, I know. Hey, you started it, but that's all right. Yeah, if you want to continue that conversation with us, hit us up, ITY, directionsmusic.org, or individually.
Gemini, GEMINI, directionsmusic.org.
Yeah, and PHILLYD, Philly D at directionsmusic.org. Yeah, this is I'm telling you, Philly D.
Mr. Gemini.
Clickety clack, a fact checker, Miss JD.
Yeah, and as always, fam, we love you, we appreciate you. Be good to yourself, be good to everyone else.
Much love.
Peace.
Peace.
Peace.